just sitting here, there's oil running straight out of this thing. If it's just these valve cover gaskets, that's not that big of a deal. Okay, what is this? Day 3, about, yeah, third day, not consecutive day necessarily, that I've worked on this tractor. So leaks, leak. So what's going on here is I run the tractor for a few minutes, and then shortly thereafter, there's oil running out of this valve cover. And it's like this on both sides. I don't know what's going on. And the best way to figure it out is to get this off and see if something is up. I don't know if this is the right way or the wrong way, but it's the way I'm going to do it. The way this thing leaks, it's almost like there's no gasket in there at all. Here's a gasket because it's kind of stuck. Oh, yeah, it's just broken, dried, worn out. Look at that. So over time, they'll take a set, and they'll become hard, and they kind of lose their elasticity, and they're just no good. So I suspect after 20 years and numerous heating cycles, that's what's going on. So I think what I'm going to do is start with a new set of gaskets for both sides and clean it really well. And then I guess I'll run it again and see if that stops the leaking. I'm pretty sure it will. And but I also got to make sure it's not leaking out other places too. That's going to take a while. So yeah, I guess that's the first order of business. Okay, so I went ahead and cleaned everything up. I just took a little bit of brake clean and a blue Scotch-Brite pad to clean this off. There really wasn't anything on there. I've got the valve cover cleaned up, and I went ahead and picked up some new gaskets from the John Deere dealer. So these are genuine Kawasaki gaskets. So when I called to see if they had them, they asked if I wanted the type that didn't leak. So apparently there's been an update on these engines. So this was plastic, and I think they have a metal replacement, and it's got different gaskets. So I was looking at $100 to replace all that stuff. But to just try new O-ring gaskets that press in here, it was only like $15. So I'm going to go ahead and try the cheaper ones and see if they hold up. I'm going to have this tractor for a while. I'll be starting it and stopping it, and I'll know if it starts leaking again. Apparently these are prone to warping and cracking, and upon inspection, I see this boss right here, and I don't know if the camera can pick it up well. There is a tiny little crack right there. So it looks good otherwise. So I'm going to try it anyway. If it leaks, I'll just update it. I'll update it to the new valve covers and gaskets. I'm not too worried about it. So this has what I call a press-in-place seal. And basically it's a custom form-fit O-ring that'll take the shape of this valve cover. And then within this groove, the O-ring sits within this groove, and then within the groove there are little keepers, these little tabs right here. I don't know if the camera can pick them up or not, but there's a little tab right there that'll help hold that O-ring in place while I install it. And then that should stay together long enough for me to put this on. So I've got the bolts cleaned up and everything, and I think I'm ready to put this together. Okay, that feels pretty good. It's seated in there okay, I guess. It feels real nice and soft and fresh. They had a date code of March of this year, I think, so They're only about 6 months old, 7 months old, 8 months. I don't know. I can't do math, but yeah, I think they'll be okay for now. You know, if it starts leaking again, they're easy enough to change. I don't know if it's that big of a deal. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get a light and look at it real close, make sure I didn't push the O-ring out anywhere. It looks okay so far, but I need to look at it real closely. If it rolled out and it gets pinched, it'll leak for sure. Torquing these, I didn't find a spec. I will look around, but it won't be much. There is a load limiter in here, and that's what that, actually, let me show you. That's what this little sleeve is for. So the head of the bolt will touch up to this sleeve, which touches up to this top of the cylinder head, and it should keep it from cracking this plastic and overloading the joint and crushing the O-ring. So yeah, one of these was cracked. I think it was this one over here, but I'm gonna guess that's just stress, heat, and age. Maybe this material's just too thin for this application. Cast aluminum would be a lot better. Okay, now I got the other side all done. Torquing these, I didn't really do it. So with the load limiters in there, I just turned them in by hand with this nut driver, M10 nut driver, and they basically just turn till they stop, and the torque just instantly goes up. So it's there's not a lot of stretch to it. They just spin in freely and then they stop. They touch right up and then they're done. So I think it's installed correctly. What I'm going to do is run it for a while, just let it idle and warm up, then shut it off and see if we get the waterfall of oil again coming out of these. Hopefully not. Big picture, it's still really dirty, and I still got to make sure there isn't oil coming out of other areas too. I think what I'm thinking about doing is taking the air cleaner off, taking the carb off, taking the intake off, and that'll give me access to a lot of the engine. I'll take the muffler and shield off, and I think I might even remove the radiator and fan and everything, and that'll let me get down in there and scrub. And I think I can just kind of disconnect and pull away wiring and stuff like that, and then maybe get in there with some engine degreaser, hose it off, scrub it, and then give it a good cleaning, and then put it back together. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where my gumption gets me. Okay, 1 day later, and one warm-up. I let this thing run for, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, enough for the water in the cooling system to start getting warmed up. Shut it down, let it sit overnight, and everything is dry. The other side looks just as good. So I'm going to call that a win for now. I will monitor this joint for the rest of the winter while I work on this, which judging by the looks of this thing, it ain't gonna be much. I think the big thing would be waiting on a hood and side panels. So I'll just keep an eye on it, and I think it's good for now. The next step is to try to figure out how to clean this thing. I just keep thinking and thinking about it, and I'm still leaning toward removing, you know, the radiator and the muffler and all that, just so I can get access to it. I also want to check out the coupler right here. So there's a coupler here that runs from the back of the engine and runs through a shaft all the way to the pump in the back. And when it idles, it looks like it's moving around quite a bit. So I'm going to maybe investigate that and see if there's something up with it. So I'd like to check that out as well. And then, well, I guess that's probably it for now.